Hello, Night Nation. Welcome to Sons of UCF Live. I'm Trey Strelko. He is Adam Eaton. How you doing?
Trace, I'm okay. It's a nice Thursday here. We got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Football is on the horizon. Got to put a bow on basketball. We have something to give the audience tonight if they're so interested. We have a really cool giveaway that we'll introduce later on. And we got some interviews to play, I guess, tonight. Listen, if you're not on our YouTube channel, by the way, 15
There's a lot of stuff on there
in the last 48 hours.
With more to come over the next couple of days.
On YouTube. So check that out too. But thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. And let's have a good night, Trace.
26th as we go live, I believe meteorological. That's hard to say. Spring began the 20th. Meteorological. Spring began the 20th, but in UCF football, that begins March 31st. And I will tell you, what makes it easier starting March 31st was March Madness and the way the basketball season was going. So that's the recipe right there. Okay. You have an extended basketball season, go as long as you can, and then just ease right in to spring football. Carries us in, a little break over summer, Big 12 media days, and then we're right back for preseason camp. So I like the way that schedule's coming out. March 31st, we'll hear from head coach Scott Frost. Been a while since we have. That'll be the first practice, just to clue you in. That'll be stretching and calisthenics. It won't be much that we'll see, about 15, 20 minutes. I'm not sure if they're going to be indoors or outdoors, but heavy hitters next week. Get defensive coordinator Alex Grinch, get offensive coordinator Steve Cooper, and players and complete Suns coverage. That's coming together. We're going to have the Army out there getting videos, getting photos, writing articles, covering it, all angles.
A lot going on, Trace. A later start. I don't know yet how I feel about this later start. I'll need to go through this cycle to get a full opinion of it. I do appreciate the fact that basketball kind of ran longer than it usually does. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that later. And so it kind of leads into football. I also appreciate the fact that they didn't want that spring break week to get in the middle of practice. So they want continuity. But I'm reserving judgment to how I feel about this dragging into May. But no matter what, I'm excited that we've got football back. We've got 15 minutes of guys throwing the football 7 yards and us freaking out over it. I can't wait. It's the best time of year when we have the Trace Trucco Zabruder film where we have to break down whose shoelaces are untied and who didn't quite stretch far enough on that hamstring scoop.
No quarterback controversy unless you want to make it controversial about who's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Number 1 will be more than likely Alonzo Barnett the third. UCF announcing Thursday an open practice in the bounce house. I wasn't sure they were going to do that with the construction going on. Obviously, they'll have everybody on the other side and things well cordoned off. 10 a.m. in the bounce house, no doubt humid. Is that something you plan to attend?
I think so. Yeah. I always enjoy these opportunities to get around the team, get around the rest of the group that's covering UCF. It's kind of the send off to spring, and it's the last football we'll see for another couple of months. So you might as well soak it in while you can. I am curious logistically. I assume everything will kind of be confined to the east side of the stadium, if I have my geography correct there. And so I don't know what we'll see. Let's just not see any more injuries, by the way. Let's not see any Oklahoma drills.
Let me ask you, is that an inappropriate question of Scott Frost next Tuesday? Will he be bringing out the Oklahoma drills? You think?
Maybe not. So he's got, if I did my math right, he's got a couple of media availabilities, but prior to this.
No, but it's that first one, though, is really.
No. The second one, I think you can hit him with. By the way, Coach, I've been wondering. I think you can hit him with that on that one, but let's just stay away from the.
All right.
No, not you. You can ask me. I don't care what you do. I'm saying Scott Frost. Let's just stay away from getting our wide receivers.
Yeah. You and Christian Simmons of the Pegasus podcast teaming up a little get to know series, which is a good primer as we get closer to spring camp. You broke down offense and defense. Is there going to be a special video out on YouTube just breaking down the special teams?
It's already on there. I feel like clearly you did not watch the defensive.
I have not. No, I've
on the end
videos of which I'm involved in a lot of behind the scenes production. So
it's on the end of the defensive video where we believe we may have broken news to at least 70% of the fan base that Dalton Riggs is not here. I don't know if anybody knows that. I feel like that was the quiet portal entry. I don't know if this is inappropriate. The Irish goodbye. I think he just kind of left and no one really knows about it. So I think we broke that news on this special that Dalton Riggs not on this roster in 2026. But offense, defense, some names, depth chart ideas, kind of who's there, who's not there, coming and goings. And we offer up the Christian Simmons. If you follow Christian, he's got the analysis face where he puts his fingers in front of his face there. The Christian Simmons intriguing player for each position group. So check both those videos out now on our YouTube channel.
That was going to be a little weekend homework before spring camp started.
It needs to be. Honestly, it helped me a ton going through this because I was like, oh, that guy's here. This guy's not here. What happened to that? Like, spoiler alert, I looked at the roster that UCF. Now, the roster's updated. The numbers are not. But
it's a little bit messy still.
Do you remember UCF's punter last year?
Yeah. Why do you do this to me? You did it on the silly game on Around the Kingdom. You just hit me. I've had my whole work day. I had a whole thing with MLB.com today. I'll get into, and so I can't remember.
Anthony Vinieri was
Vinny.
He's not on the roster
or something.
He's not on the roster.
Did he graduate?
I don't know. He was a junior last year. I don't know. Not on the roster. So FYI, we learned some stuff ourselves as Christian and I went through the roster. So we did the work, so you don't have to. Again, go to YouTube. Offense, defense, special teams breakdowns available now.
Gotcha. New coach now on the staff, David Overstreet II. Cornerback coach replaces Will Johnson, who replaced Brandon Harris. That's been 3 coaches in a couple of months. You familiar with him? Late of the Dallas Cowboys, the vaunted defense of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so secondary, not the strength of my beloved Dallas Cowboys last season. However, a ton of injuries in that particular position group. Don't know how much to sort of put on that. A new defensive coordinator came into Dallas, which I think is why maybe the staff cleans up. Before that, though, Overstreet was with the Chicago Bears, and Matt Eberflus, who was with Dallas last season, he coached Jalen Johnson, who was an all-pro cornerback for Chicago at that point. So he's definitely got some chops, some professional chops per se. So if he's walking in a room and he's got guys who want to go to the league, he certainly has the credibility to talk about, I know how to get you there. I know what they do there. I know what to expect when you get to the league too. So I think all things considered, this late in the cycle, losing somebody after only having them for a short amount of time, and he's got familiarity with Coach Grinch, I think all things considered, it feels like a pretty good win-win hire for the Knights.
What's interesting to me is Will Johnson left for the NFL, and now David Overstreet coming from the NFL. That's interesting in that short period of time, some flow back and forth with the league.
Yeah, I mean, listen, guys are getting replaced all the time, right? So I think you're seeing a lot of that between college and NFL, guys bouncing between both particular leagues. And again, we'll see how long at the cornerback life, coach life cycle.
So a couple of months till the season starts, so maybe there's a replacement.
But let's see if Coach Overstreet makes it for us. But again, I think on paper it's a really good hire. And I think, again, if you're a cornerback and you're like, I want to get developed to go to the league, no better person to look at a coach who literally was doing that the last 3 or 4 seasons in the NFL.
Speaking of the league, former UCF football players putting on a show inside the Nicholson Fieldhouse on Wednesday for scouts. 29 of the 32 NFL teams on site. Did you see the note that I included from Sports Information? No Jags, no Falcons, no Rams. Jags always got a night.
So to be fair, the Jags are doing this new thing. They're not going to anybody's anything. They didn't go to the combine. They feel as though they can learn all this stuff by watching on TV.
That's interesting. We'll see how that plays out.
We're the only team to go to combine. I think they were one of only teams that didn't go to a recent workout for one of the top players. I forget who it was. It's kind of the Jags thing. The Rams, you would think they have like an in. Like they can just maybe call their old friend Scott Frost and tell me.
Hey, Scott, who's good
about that? So that's not a surprise. But the Jags are kind of doing this new thing. They have, and although, by the way, the Jags GM came from the Rams, so perhaps that's something he learned there. This new sort of methodology of we can just watch everything on TV.
We got 6 players, which you can find their interviews, the post practice interviews on our YouTube channel. Nice report compiled by Marcus Richardson and Octavius Lawrence. And my go-to question for this of the players was, what's the dream? And Nigel E. Kelly, he's been thinking about it for a very long time.
I mean, shoot, ever since I was came out the womb, my grandpa, he used to be on the couch, kicking his feet up, and NFL was on. We always watching the Dolphins, somebody. He out there on Sundays, it was NFL Sundays, so it just always been a dream to look and see players play on the screen. I just always wanted to be one of those players on the screen because I knew my grandpa watched it, and I always wanted my grandpa to watch me on TV one day.
Out of the womb to the NFL. I like that though. Good luck to him. You think Nigel gets drafted? Maybe 6th, 7th round, maybe.
I don't. Drafted feels tough. I think maybe a very late pick, but I think he's one of those priority free agents. Again, edge rushers are at a premium in the league. If you can sack the quarterback, you'll typically always find a home and play for a long time. So maybe you don't quite take a flyer on him late in the draft, but I think I could see him being one of those first couple of UDFs that come off the board. that go to some other teams.
Malachi Lawrence, his stock going higher since the combine in Indianapolis. He talked a little bit about putting in the work that got him where he is today.
Here at UCF, it was just a great time, just like going through the grind, like from coming from not starting, having captains above you, just learning from them, just actually going through the grind and enjoying it, like enjoying the process. And I say that.
How did those guys make you better?
Oh, just competing in practice every day. Really, like just going to practice, working hard, because practice is where you learn you basically, like you learn how you play, what moves you can do and you can't do. You just can't go into the game and just try a move all of a sudden that you haven't tried in practice.
I like that insight from him. I remember George O'Leary, I'm sure he wasn't the first, wasn't the last, saying practice should be hard, right? So that the games are fun and that you win. I liked hearing him say the work he was putting in practice.
He also, and I don't mean this as a slight, Trace. He looks like he may have got a little bigger. Looks like he may have added some bulk and muscle to his frame. He looked a little bigger. His face looked a little bigger, which again, I think will only help his draft stock. It's cool seeing him.
How was that a slight to me? What?
It wasn't to you. Wasn't just to him. I don't know if he's watching. I don't know if he's watching. It was a slight to him. He looks maybe a little bigger, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's cool to see his name on mocks in second, third rounds, and him having the opportunity to. Probably you and I talked about this recently. One of the last, if not the last guy we may see outside of Braden Marshall that is a 4-year player at UCF. So it's cool to see a guy like Malachi, who's been here literally since the first day of his time in college, getting an opportunity now at the NFL draft too. I think he's a jersey a lot of Knight fans will probably end up buying once he finds his home in the NFL.
What do you think? Second round?
I think second
into
round.
The first. Right?
I think second round. I don't know if he creeps in the first. I think second round is probably appropriate for Malachi. You know, he's got good numbers. He's got good measurables. I imagine the kid interviews really well. And again, you know, edge rushers aren't growing on trees. Guys who can get to the quarterback with his length, his size, his speed. I think a team's going to be enticed to take him second round.
All those interviews right now on Sun's YouTube. You had opportunity this week to speak with a guy who had a bit of an impact on UCF's roster, right? That being Jeff Love, former executive director of player personnel for the Knights. And now he's an agent, right? He moved from that side of things. Whoa.
Player representation.
Thank you. Could you describe the difference for me in the term?
He's here to represent players and help players navigate new landscape of college athletics and coaches as well. And yeah, you know, he's a name that probably isn't super familiar to a lot of Knights fans, but you know, Coach Frost shouted him out from literally the first day I think he was on campus in the role that Jeff and his staff played in trying to identify this team, trying to get guys on the roster, really building this thing from the ground up. So I had a chance to catch up with Jeff. The full interview will come out on our YouTube channel probably early next week, probably Monday morning you'll find it. But here's a quick little 10-minute-ish snippet of him describing A, learning he's coming to UCF, and then B, what the first couple of days were like for him here on campus.
Way I got to UCF is I don't want to say by chance, but I was right place, right time in the state of Florida. I had just been retained by Zach Kitley as the GM, and we were watching linemen in the staff room, and my phone rang. It's a number I didn't recognize, and I actually silenced it twice, and then got a text from a buddy that knew Coach Frost, and he said, "Would you step out of the meeting?" So I did, and I called him. I go, "What's going on? We're in the middle of the portal. He goes, "There are some very important people in Orlando trying to get a hold of you," and literally 12 hours later, I was standing in front of. It was me, Frost, Scoop, KZ, Dawson, and Beck was the only people in the room. And this was 3 days after Coach had been hired. And so it was a mad dash, obviously, because we're already in the portal. You don't have a staff yet. We got a team to put together. Guys are leaving because, you know, the previous head coach is at Florida State now. So who's going where? And that was, I know Frost has talked about it a lot. That month was, that was fun. I enjoyed it because that's high octane. That's the way I operate. And so I was able to bring 2 guys from FAU with me that were super instrumental in helping build that team. Ryan Beer and Kalen Skipper. And then, you know, Dan Pirtle and Jarris McIntyre were already here. So being able with them and the staff to try to put this thing together, we'd lock ourselves in a room. We'd go watch a bunch of tape, and then, you know, coaches were getting hired, and we're like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And they were already there, but we were just so locked in to try to find the players. And it was, I'm sure we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, I mean, cool. talk about the ground floor, right? Literally on the ground floor. So you're down, you're winning in paradise right at FAU.
Yeah.
Did you even know Scott Frost prior to that phone call? Were you even aware that, I mean, I assume you probably heard he took the job at UCF again, but did you even have any relationship at all with Frost prior to that call in the meeting room?
Zero. I knew of him. Obviously, I knew McKenzie. Sure. Ironically, I knew Steve Cooper from back when he was a grad assistant at Portland State. I was the video director at Nevada, and we'd worked some camps together when we were younger. And Coach Becton was the receiver coach, coaching Brandon Marshall and Sims Walker and Capers and Huggins and Frizzell and all those guys when I was a student. So I knew he would be involved somehow, but even Beck hadn't even been formally. So, like, I didn't even know, to answer your question, I didn't know what was open, if there was an opening. I didn't know anything about it. And, you know, the main, as Coach Frost told me, he wanted somebody that kind of understood the NIL landscape, that understood the state of Florida, that was from here, and then obviously went to school here. So, yeah, there was no connection at all.
So let me ask maybe the easiest but the hardest question, right? Why say yes when he calls you and says, "Hey, man, I got nothing going on here. I'm rebuilding everything. You're winning in Paradise and Boca." Why say yes to that opportunity? What made you go, "Hey, I'm going back to UCF and I'm going to be a part of this"?
The level of competition.
Okay.
And truthfully, knowing that I was going to be a part of Scott Frost Part 2, because I've said this and I think it's true and a lot of people believe this. If we don't go undefeated in that 17 season right in the middle of conference realignment, I don't know what happens or who the Big 12 takes.
Yeah.
And so I think Coach Frost and all that he did, and obviously McKenzie, had a lot to do with that. And I had always heard how great a guy Coach Frost was to work for. Again, nothing against Zach. Zach Kitley, he and I still talk also. I mean, I think he's going to do a good job down in Boca. But, yeah, and then Orlando, and haven't been back since I was a student, and all the things. It's a level. It's Power 4. And in this day and age, probably a good segue, it's almost two different sports.
Sure.
Power 4 and Group of 6, between the staffing, the salaries, players and coaches, and just overall organizational.
When you got hired, when you agreed to the job, what was your job description? What was it that you were tasked with essentially trying to do in your role at UCF?
Put the roster together with Coach Frost, because my title was Executive Director of Player Personnel, but me and a staff along with Frost and the position coaches were just putting together a roster. And again, I didn't really care what my title was. I knew what I was here for. And so I'm a coach first and foremost and an educator. And so my goal was to find the best players here, but also help educate coaches and staffers on this new era. Because you got to remember, Coach Frost, when he took the job, when he was last in it, there wasn't NIL.
Yep.
And Coop's been around, but he wasn't involved in it in Boise. Neither was KZ or Dawson. You know what I mean? So, like, as people it was kind of, we were all learning how it was together. And I didn't know all because I wasn't at the Power 4 level recently, you know? Yeah. So go ahead.
No, what's the first step? So, hey, Jeff, welcome to the team, buddy. We need you to put a roster. What's the first step? Where do you even start when you get that?
So it's funny because I walked in the room and shook hands and whatever, and Coach said something to my wife, is like, "You ready for all this?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's because she was excited and whatever." And so she goes off to the hotel, and I sit down in the office, and I can't remember who said it, but somebody looks at me and goes, "All right, so now what?" And I said, "Well, so first let's evaluate who's here."
Yeah.
and then we can evaluate who could potentially leave, because this is about retention. It's easier to keep guys than go get them. And so, obviously you look up front first, and we're getting to the meat and potatoes of it. But so I said, not that you asked my opinion, but we have two really good edge rushers and a very good interior lineman who just didn't play this past fall. So in my opinion, whatever we're doing on defensively, let's not major out of an odd front. Because in this era, if you have two pass rushers and then you bring in an odd guy, those guys leave because they can't rush the passer. That's not what they do from a 4 high or a 4. So anyway, that was fun. So me and Ryan Beer came up immediately, and we literally locked ourselves in a meeting room for 48 hours, and we ordered food in, and we watched every player and evaluated them. And then again, is it like the story I tell, because Alex Grinch and I are buddies now, but like we talked about Frost said, well, I'm looking at this guy to be a defensive coordinator, and then 2 days later,
by the way, UCF hadn't been hired at that point yet, so you don't even know who may be coaching some of these positions, right?
Right. That's why, as a coach helping him, I'm like, look, and I'm like, you probably already know this, but between Malachi and Nigel League, we need to go get a guy, a 4-down guy that majors in that. So then about 3 days later, I come out to go to the bathroom, and Alex Grinch is standing in the hallway. I'm like, oh, hey, because he was at Oklahoma, I believe, when I was at Kansas. And so like I knew of him, but I'd never met him.
Sure.
And so then one by one, Jimmy Beal shows up, and Mark D'Onofrio, and we're starting to put his stats together. I'm like, all right, because the other part of this acquiring talent now is that the head coach is cool, but who's going to develop me? You know what I mean? So like it was difficult early, for instance, to get a linebacker if you didn't have a linebackers coach. So that kind of sped some processes up and things like that. But so yeah, that was
sounds like fun.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. We were up late and up early and just go.
Might I recommend that the title of the video when you release it is "Now What?" I love that. Now what? There's a lot of moving parts. This is what makes you feel better about 2026 because, as he said, player retention is important. You have stability of staff. You're not having to throw it all together, right? So really, when you think about what happened behind the scenes, it does lay the groundwork for a 5-7 transitional season under head coach Scott Frost.
Yeah, again, the full conversation on Monday on our YouTube channel. He talks about NIL and acquiring guys and who's leaving and whatnot. But I talked to Jeff earlier today as well. And as I listened back to that, we forgot all of that as fans. Like everything that had to happen to put this team together quickly, and all the decisions they had to make quickly without a lot of information because they had to do something. They had to move. They had another portal also at that point in time, which we don't have now, but a second portal they had to prepare for. Coaches are walking in the door. They don't have scheme. They don't have strategy. And so they cobbled together, and I don't mean that in a negative way. They cobbled together the things that they could. And you hope now that you'll learn a little bit about how to do that differently, how to get personnel in place, what our strategy looks like. And so it's kind of a really revealing conversation. But again, Monday on our YouTube channel, you'll hear more from Jeff Love. But it did give me a new appreciation as I thought back to go, sure, I lamented 4th and 1 and we can't get a yard at Kansas, but I forgot about the 7 months prior where they're like, I'm going to grab a soda and I'm meeting my offensive line coach or my defensive line coach or whoever for the first time too. So it certainly does put in perspective the challenge that staff faced putting together the team in 2025.
Now what? Right. And he talked about player retention being important. Earlier, we talked about the loss now of Malachi Lawrence, Nigel Lee Kelly. It's the DBs, I think, that are the most experienced on the defense. Is that something I haven't seen it yet, obviously, but that you and Christian talked about on the defensive preview that you have right now on Sun's YouTube?
Yeah, sure. It sure is, Trace. 4 of the 5 starters, if you include kind of that nickel position that Braden Marshall plays, 4 of the 5 starters are back. Antoine Jackson, Jaden Bellamy at corner, Damari Henderson, obviously, and Braden Marshall at the safety positions. Really only Phillip Dunham leaves from that starting core last year. By the way, guys like DJ Bell, the third corner, he's back as well, too. So when you look at the defense specifically, this is the most veteran group, right? This is the group that's returning the most talent. You're getting Jaden Williams back, who played a little bit, had an injury, gets a medical red shirt. You're bringing in some kids. Ty Bartram. I don't know if you look at Ty Bartram's bio on UCF, outside of being a male model, I don't know what else this guy could accomplish. He went to Harvard. He's got
is that one of his hobbies? Is that
Ivy League? Like, I mean, he's got it all put together. You go to Jalen Duffy from North Dakota State, so you also bring in some talent as well too. So this is by far the most veteran group, and probably the group that should be the most ahead. Now, what'll be interesting, Trace, as you know, is last year UCF had those two edge rushers who were putting pressure on the quarterback. Makes the quarterback throw faster, make decisions faster. If you don't have that edge pressure, now you got to cover guys longer. So how does the defensive back group kind of get impacted by what happens up front too? But that notwithstanding, this is in fact the most veteran group and returns the most experience from any defensive group on the roster.
No doubt it'll be a topic of discussion on our next Around the Kingdom, but CBS Sports out with an article predicting 3 wins for the Knights. So they're not buying into the changes the Knights have made on either side of the ball.
Your good friend Jehan Jayaraja with UCF 3-9.
You notice I
noticed you punted on the name. That's fine. That's fine.
3 wins. That's one of those is Georgia State, for crying out loud. I mean,
and look,
I'm not giving them a lot of credit here. Iowa State that lost everybody is another one of the wins. I mean, UCF usually does better at home than he seems to be giving them credit for.
I honestly, I don't know how much to take that as a slight. Like, there's not a lot that's known about this team right now, and I'd rather be undervalued than overvalued right now, right? So I still think this opportunity for UCF to continue to kind of prove who they are, what they can do. I'm surprised by the Oklahoma State love, if I'm being honest. A lot of people have Oklahoma State as like a dark.
Well, they like what the new coach did at his previous stop, and that he brought everybody the quarterback.
Yeah, but North Texas to Oklahoma State
that's a big jump.
There's a jump involved in that too. I'm not saying they're going to be bad. I'm just surprised people have them as like an 8-9 win team. I don't quite grab that piece. But I guess if I'm Scott Frost, I tell the team let them underestimate what we can do, and hopefully that's a chip on the shoulder mentality that the Knights can put out there on the field and prove something different as the season kicks off.
Earlier, we talked about spring camp beginning. It's here. Spring football, pro style, is back in Orlando. The Orlando Storm have a little connection to UCF. Former O-lineman Sam Jackson and Cole Schneider are a part of the 50-man roster for the Orlando Storm. They will open this Sunday at the home of Orlando City Soccer. So a smaller venue. They're not in the big stadium, right? So easier to sell tickets and create a good atmosphere and environment. I caught up with Sam, Cole Schneider, and as well head coach Anthony Beck, talking about the connection to UCF and these guys knowing one another from before.
Oh, it's a blast, man. We were roommates during training camp, kind of throwback to when we were roommates as freshmen. It's super fun, having a guy out there that you can count on and who's someone's going to push you and be a leader and help out and, just kind of have the same goals that you have.
It's a full circle moment, man. We came in together freshman year. We were roommates, and that's pretty cool because he got in this league about last year, played for Houston, and I was with Stallions. Now with this Orlando team opening up, and there's talk of college allocations, so I had a bit of a hint that maybe we'd be the two guys who get picked up for that, and that's pretty cool, man. Just wanted to camp together again, and it's a full circle moment.
For Sam and Cole, man, 2 impressive leaders, 2 guys that know what an undefeated season looks like. We're trying to win every game, and these guys are integral parts of our football team.
They debut Sunday against the Columbus Aviators, Adam. And
we're out the records when those two meet.
Yeah. The Storm have been good enough to give us some tickets to give away for the opener Sunday. How are we going to do that? What's our process going to look like?
Listen, let's just send us a DM on social media, either Twitter or Instagram, and if you can make the game, you want to go, you want to check it out, first come, first serve. We got a couple of different tickets to give away. So if that's you, if you want in, send us. I'm not going to make you give me a code word or a password or tell me your favorite color of Ben Hazel's bow tie. Just tell me you want to go to the game. Tell me you can make the game, and we'll find a way to get you the ticket. So DM us on social media if you want to be one of the only people to be in the stadium for the first ever Orlando Storm game, Trace. First ever.
Columbus Aviators.
Is that because did they find flight in Columbus? Why are they the Aviators?
Yeah,
I thought that was I thought that was North Carolina. The Wright brothers. No, air travel's all messed up. I know nothing about it.
Well, that's for sure. That's for sure. 30 minutes in, finally talking about men's basketball. One and done in the NCAA tournament. Still a great season for the Knights. 9-9 in the Big 12, and they finished 21-12 overall. Let's put a wrap on things with our analyst, ESPN Plus basketball analyst, Ben Hazel. Ben, good enough to join us this week. Hey, sporting the bow tie, I guess, to signify the quality of the overall season, Ben.
Yeah, this team deserves it. I had to think about it. I had to sleep on it. Like Coach Dawkins probably wouldn't approve of this message that we're celebrating the first round exit. But I think as a fan, it was something that deserves to be celebrated. The guys really competed. I talk a little bit about it in this last column that I put out in Knights 247, and just really talking about how we got everything that we could ask for out of these guys, right? Like they did everything and some. So something worth celebrating. Decided to go with the bow tie.
When did you start to get a little concerned as you were watching the game? The turnovers really piled up. They dug themselves a hole and they fought back, but that's hard to overcome that many turnovers.
Yeah, we never really got in a flow. We didn't really show our best, and that's exactly what you need. You know, there's something to be said about, the Tom Izzos, guys that can get their teams to play their best in March because the season is long. Guys get worn down. I think Themis, guys were throwing a lot at him for the entire month of February and March, and the tournament was no different. So turnovers got to us. We never really got into a consistent flow. And, when you're one of the top 64 teams in the country, you got to be playing at your best.
Ben, if I give you one do-over, turnovers, missed free throws, where do you think kind of the Knights really sort of, if you could do something differently or wave a magic wand to change something, what would you want to change about what happened in that game?
I think myself and most coaches across the country will always say turnovers, right? Because those just compound. Those just take away, just mathematically, your even chances to score. Like if you could just limit those turnovers, you could almost say that's the difference, right? Of course, free throws, you always want those because those are free. But turnovers kill you. It's really hard to win. They're always hard to overcome. And when you're playing a talented team, turnovers will always be the number one thing that does it to you.
I know no turnovers created the same, but what was UCLA doing specifically to maybe generate those turnovers? Or do you think some of those were kind of self-inflicted by UCF, maybe moving too fast, not thinking right? Like how did you think those turnovers kind of manifested?
No, I think it was a little bit of both. Like they have a lot of length, right? Like they really executed their scouting report, with Themis. Their guys have always been trying to play them for the pass. Right. So I think they just did a good job of that, of funneling him into certain places. And then it made his passing angles really one-sided. He couldn't really get his shot off against them because of that length. So I think just right there, they did a good job disrupting us at the top. And that just trickled down. Guys never really could get the ball in their natural spots where they're really comfortable. And that's just a credit to UCLA and them just really executing their scouting report.
You mentioned Themis, and this was one of the first games, Ben, that I kind of noticed. Maybe shame on me. It felt like they were daring him to shoot the three, right? Like if you want that three, it's yours all day, but you're not getting in the lane. And if you do, you're going to find two or three of us around there. Is that kind of an opportunity for the first time where, again, it kind of hit to me like Themis's inability to want to take the three or maybe make the three? Do you think that kind of showed up in that game? His maybe reluctance to be a 3-point shooter?
100%. If you think about it, right, the one thing that I was doing a little bit as a basketball nerd over these past few days, and especially just writing those columns, was just looking up some of these numbers from these guys over the past few years, over their career. And Themis shot the ball better than he ever has in his entire life. He hasn't shot in the 30%. That's not where he normally is. He shot in the 20s last year. So he's not a guy that was coming into this game in his entire life ever being a guy that was going to beat you from the 3-point line. I think we saw that he was able to make some shots in some big moments to make you respect it at all times. But he's not a guy that is just coming off really hunting the 3-point shot. And I think UCLA was like, hey, in the biggest moment, under the most pressure, under the brightest lights, we're going to make you try to beat us doing the things that you are the least comfortable doing. And I think they just did a good job of that. That's what every team is trying to do. They know they can't take away everything. They're trying to force every team to what they think is the best option for them to basically be not as successful as they normally would be. And, hats off to them for executing, really.
Back to the missed free throws. No one exemplified that more perhaps than John Bull. It was a rough night for the young man. What did you see in his game, and how does he grow and learn from a tough night like that?
I mean, I think we've been skating around it just because he's been able to make a few, but there's no hiding from that form, right? Like, again, in the NCAA tournament, in these games in March, it's when the pressure is ratcheted up, and that's when your flaws get put on, kind of the front street. So for him, I think it's just something that he always knew he needed to work on. Probably going to have to change that form a little bit, smoothing that out. But yeah, just unfortunate that it had to come kind of in that specific circumstance. But hey, you live and you learn. It's something he'll be better for next year.
He hasn't played basketball for very long, but when you talk about changing the form of shooting a free throw, what would be involved in that? And how that sounds difficult to me.
Yeah, no, it's extremely difficult, but at least it's a free throw more than it is like, hey, I have to change your jump shot, which is what guys do, from time to time. So I don't want it to make it seem like it's, not possible, but it's something that hopefully plays in his mind when he thinks about the transfer portal, because you're not going to be able to do it if you transfer. So I think it's something that he's going to have to start working on like right now. You start really close. It's really a lot of form shooting, 1,000,001 reps. You can never get enough reps. And, just hopefully he'll get something that's just a little bit smoother, right? That hitch is, I think, what really throws it off. His practice shots are actually fine. Like when he practices without an actual basketball, it's actually pretty smooth. So hopefully he can, do some things to make that click.
Ben, a question I never thought I'd ask when the season started, but how big of a loss was Jeremy Fumena not being able to play in this game? Obviously, not having your backup big and having to rely on ultimately a former walk-on to come in a tough spot for him. How big a loss was it not having Fumena healthy for this game?
I don't know if I want to say huge, but definitely a loss, right? Like their size was an issue, but I think the versatility at their size was a problem as well. They're getting some of those pick and pop shots, some of those situations that I don't necessarily think Fumena would have been a huge advantage for us guarding against that. So I still think it would have been a little bit more of the same, but, having more size and more bodies to throw out there and not having to throw out Elijah in there for as long as we had to would always be a plus for us. But, I don't want to call it huge just because he's been out for a while and he wasn't a huge minutes guy to start with.
Evaluate the performance of Jordan Burks and Riley Kugel, two guys who I think we all knew we needed to score, right, and be really productive scorers. Evaluate what you saw from them kind of on that biggest stage.
Yeah, I think I would give them a B if I'm being completely honest, right? Like there was no lack of effort, right? Like I think guys were trying to do what has been working for them the entire season. I don't think guys were shy about it. I don't think guys were tentative. So I can give them a B for that, right? Like I don't necessarily think they executed it perfectly. But hey, you live and you learn. We were talking about it. These are situations that are completely new for everybody. So to expect them to know exactly what to do and how to respond and really know how to attack things is, I think that would be, unfair.
Before we know it, the transfer portal will open. A year ago, the Knights lost everybody and had to start over. If you were head coach, general manager, who are your priorities to retain?
I mean, honestly, I would try to retain everybody that's available, right? Like the guys that contributed. So who's still left? So like, of course, Jordan Burks, you would want to get Jordan Burks and Chris Johnson, because I think their roles and what they would have to be are right in front of them, right? Like Riley and Themis, you're going to have to reproduce that production. Chris Johnson and Jordan Burks. But, you want to try to retain as many people as you can. Of course, you're probably going to let go of pretty much all the bench guys. How we rebuild this thing is going to be really tough. I do think getting to the NCAA tournament was a huge win for us. But always going to come down to, we're going to have to hope that, we have the support from our NIL and just really just the money support that shows that we are an NCAA tournament team. Because when I think about it, us getting to the NCAA tournament and just how this season unfolded, I think we can officially wear the Big 12 banner on our chest with pride, right? Like, I think everybody accepts us. I think everybody sees the value. We finally were able to, elevate ourselves as a team that in a brand that is recognizable. So I think we can wear it with honor, and I hope that shows up, with our NIL support and in the transfer portal.
First, Matt Murschel, the Orlando Sentinel. Later, John Rothstein reporting a contract extension is in the works for head coach Johnny Dawkins. How important is that for the stability coming off of an NCAA tournament appearance and building this roster for the next season?
I mean, I think it's everything, right? Like, when you talk about what he's done for the organization, especially this past year, I don't think you would be crazy in extending that person just because you see the volatility that you're seeing across the country. You're not really sure if you had the NIL support. So going and recruiting a new coach with the NIL would not serve you well, because a lot of coaches know that. So we would be in the market for, some Wes Miller style type guys that are trying to rebuild themselves, but are willing to take a little less because of their exit of their situation potentially. So if we're not willing to invest fully, I think extending the guy that's giving you nothing but his hardest effort, from front to finish, facing his toughest challenges now, right? Like, the strength of schedule is doubled over what we saw over all of our years in the American Conference. So, I mean, you would be dumb, in my personal opinion, to try to make that change right now, especially with the momentum that you've kind of garnered with the move into the Big 12, finally seeing some success. I think our NIL will benefit. I mean, we got an NCAA tournament check. I do know we got that.
A decade or two from now, when you join us for Sons of UCF Live, what is it that we're going to remember about this season's team?
I mean, I hope and pray that this is just the foundation, right? Like, this is the foundation of the growth of our expectations, our growth of our knowledge base as a fan base, and just really what we come to expect, and just really what we want to be competing for, the feelings that we want to have in March. This was the beginning of it, and hopefully we feel it every single year.
Ben, thank you for being with us all season, pulling no punches on your analysis, bringing a smile to the show every week. And we thank you for being a friend of the Suns.
Always a pleasure, fellas. You know it. Every season, you guys are my favorite. Anytime. Can't wait till next year.
We'll talk to you soon. When that roster starts to come together, we'll bring you back on and assess who's here and who's left.
Everybody say your prayers.
Thanks, Ben.
He's actually praying. He's got candles lit. He's praying right now.
You got on me a little bit. I don't know. Was it around the Kingdom overtime where I said, Pacheco? But you heard Ben say, try to keep as many of these guys as you can.
I think
I'm not picking on Pacheco. I just would like to see more. That's all. He does one thing,
right? And he's a guy that can space the floor. Every time he's on the floor, every coach is going 11's a shooter, and he's making the defense have to think differently, right? So if he decides to leave or it doesn't work out for him at UCF, that's fine. But you need to replicate that level of shooter on the outside just to keep defenses honest too. So I think he proved a tad bit defensively. I mean, if I was his personal coach, which I'm not, and I have no idea why he would hire me to do so, I would tell him get in the weight room a little bit, maybe get in a little shape, get a little size, right, and maybe work on defense a little bit, because that shot's going to be there too. But I do think there are pieces on this team. I didn't get to ask Ben this question, but Chris Parker is another name that kind of intrigues me. We saw him in spots.
Isn't he on the football team?
We saw him in spots. Maybe Ben doesn't like him as much as I do as I'm looking at this right now. So maybe I shouldn't say that out loud. But I just think there are pieces on this team that UCF could figure out how to put together. And continuity, I do think, is a big piece if UCF can do all that.
Big week of transition for Around the Kingdom, Pegasus podcast, as we wrap up basketball and transition into spring football. And here's what we've been talking about this week.
I'm out. I just put on some incredible tape at the Big 12 level, and I'm going to go start somewhere next year. Does that not feel like a possible outcome?
So sure it does.
Yeah.
and it could absolutely see it happening to UCF in a year where we feel like, hey, we've got our quarterback and we don't have to worry about it. And somehow, some way, the quarterback situation turning into a mess is certainly on the table.
Cow of the week, and you, Elo, may be a contender for that because you and Brett Yormark are about Big 12. Oh, it's next to the NBA. It's a basketball league for. They're down to 3 teams, Elo. Not the most successful league in the NCAA tournament. Now, maybe they got a chance with Arizona and Houston to be in the finals, maybe to win. Probably not Iowa State, but little subpar performance. Texas Tech blown out. BYU out. Come on. Needed a better performance from the Big 12, Elo.
First of all, wow, attacking me here. How dare you?
I got a how dare you every week. It's people like you, Trace. He comes after me every week.
Attack on you.
Watch his face. He's like,
I saw it. Vicious. He was hurt.
I considered him
voice at the softball.
By the way, can I just skip to my cow of the week right now? Damn. Sure. I can't take this call right now. This is a problem.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. That's 2 times with this call. Oh.
Well, I think according to the rundown, it is cow of the week time. If that's where you want to go,
cow of the week.
If you knew around here, we tell you when something annoys us, irritates us, or something we just find silly or funny. And Trace Trocco has been in a lather for the better part of the afternoon over something that is near and dear to him, that is faltering right in front of him. Trace Trocco.
Well, it just defies explanation, is what it is. I have MLB TV. I got an announcement in email that it was auto renewing. I go to click on the Cubs Nationals today. It's asking me to subscribe. Oh, well, why do I need to subscribe? It's auto renewed, right? So I call MLB and they go, yeah, about that. It didn't auto renew. They don't know why. I'm like, okay, well, how do we auto renew it? How do we renew it now? And they have me go through one step that now has me on ESPN Unlimited, but I don't want ESPN Unlimited. So I go back to MLB, but it won't sync up. So then I go back to MLB. Well, there was a step in between that, but I go back to MLB and then they put me in a queue to call me back. 4 hours later, they call. It rings once. I go to pick up the phone and they disconnect. So I call back in the queue and that call just came now. Based on the history, I couldn't just mute myself and take that call and resolve this problem. So not resolved. And so MLB.com or MLB TV, you are the cow of the week. I just missed the call. Never taken a call during the show, and I couldn't start now.
And they lost too, right? The Cubs lost this one.
Well, there's that. I don't even know why I'm fighting to see this terrible team.
I have a couple options, Trace, for cow of the week. I do this often. Both of them are not good stories. So and the first one, I'm not even sure who the cow of the week is. Just the entire situation feels cow of the week-ish. Have you seen the story about the man that has no arms and no legs, but is a cornhole?
It's not usually a laugh line, but in this instance,
but is a cornhole champion who drove to a place to murder somebody. That entire sentence, every word that continued on in that sentence I just said was not a word I expected afterwards.
It's the onion. Every part of that story is made up.
I don't know what to do with that. I feel bad because somebody's passed away. It's tragic. I think he climbed a ladder at some point. I don't know what's happening with it. It's taking on a life of its own, and I don't know if that should be
in the ESPN.com article, they sought a quote from the president of the Cornhole Association who declined to comment. Yeah. This person's just sitting there, cornhole. What? I got to comment on what? No comment.
Cornhole champion, by the way. And then the second one, this is a throwback to what we talked about last week. Again, a very sad story, but a throwback to when you and I talked last week about when is the appropriate time where honesty is not the best policy, right? When you don't say the honest thing. I read an interview today Savannah Guthrie gave to Variety magazine. Savannah Guthrie going through a very terrible time. And she's quoted in this interview as saying that she asked her brother in the throes of sadness, "Do you think this happened because of me?" And he said, quote, "I'm sorry, sweetie, but maybe, yeah."
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a gotta lie situation. What are we doing? I don't know what Savannah Guthrie's brother is. And I don't want to pile on the family at this point in time. But if your sister asks you in the throes of sorrow, do you think I have anything to do with what's happening?
Lie.
You go, no. come on. It's just, and her brother said, yeah, I'm sorry, sweetie, but maybe that you don't do that. That's not.
I don't want to get into that story. It makes me sad, but that story doesn't add all up. It doesn't all add up.
Yeah, the math isn't math on that one. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. No, I didn't know. I knew she had asked that question of family, but I didn't hear about that response. No. I mean, that's
a must lie. That's a must. That's a must. Aggrieve the conscience of any potential issue there, but let's hope that all works out. It's a really strange story.
Yeah. Well,
well, segue now, Trace.
Makes my MLB.com TV thing pale.
Well, you got some offers here.
I don't even know how to activate it. I still have people asking me when are you getting back on Twitter. I'm not even bothered with that. I got locked out of that too. I didn't.
Not now, Mario. They have a pitch clock.
I just
a Hurricane fan here, but was here for Coach Love. Welcome, Don D 2260.
I'm looking forward to that interview. Now what?
Fair question. That is one of the only questions you could ask. And by the way, I meant to mention this. If it wasn't obvious in that clip, Coach Love is a UCF graduate. Went to UCF, graduate from UCF, and early 2020s, 2021 to 2023. He was a video coordinator on staff for Mike Kruzek. So he knew the coaching staff there. When he kind of recounted all the players that was there, it's because he was part of that group too. So if that wasn't obvious, Jeff Love is a UCF alum, a UCF graduate. So coming back to UCF was actually part of the sell for him coming back home.
We talked about this. Was this before we recorded Around the Kingdom where we were doing a little acting, you and Elo, and right? If I say to Frost, you be Frost, okay. Tuesday, and we're in the scrum, we're asking questions. Right?
Who are you?
My question.
Are you?
I'm me.
You're you, and I'm Frost. Okay.
You're Frost.
What's my motivation? Okay.
What's my character? That's my part. Ready? You give me your best answer.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well,
what does he say?
We feel good about the guys we have, and we're gonna try hard. It's a great question. I think the question this week in Around the Kingdom was, what do you hope that Scott Frost learned in year one that he takes to year two? And I do think he's got a year under his belt of understanding the system, understanding what's happening behind the scenes, roster building, trying to put, the right pieces together. I think it's very obvious, and Christian Simmons and I covered this in the videos that we talked about with the roster. I think it's very obvious that if you're talking about money, I think the money shifted from defense to offense. I think it's clear they invested heavily in offense this year on the offense.
Now, what's the impact of that?
Field position players and quarterbacks. So is that now the solve for what plagued UCF last year? Do they still have enough defensive pieces to sort of be in games, but are now they trying to shift to be a team that's going to outscore you? I think that's what's going to be interesting about it. How has the roster construction changed the philosophy you may have game in and game out from a game plan standpoint? Because it's clear to us, this Christian and I, that the money appears to have shifted offensively.
It's an interesting question. Send your questions to us on social media. What would you ask Coach Frost besides now what? And maybe we'll table the Oklahoma drills question. Softball with a midweek win. Still hanging in there, late 20s rankings after being swept by Texas Tech. They win in thrilling fashion, and DeVita Lane has our softball minute.
One swing was all UCF needed. I'm DeVita Lane with your UCF softball minute. UCF softball picks up a hard-fought 3-2 extra inning win over Florida Gulf Coast, with Ashley Griffin delivering the walk-off for the Knights.
My teammates have had my back all year, and it was just time for me to go do what I do best, and they passed the bat to me, so I was just doing what my team needed.
We haven't had many like this year. I feel like there's been times in the past where that's what we did. We came back and won it in the end, but just let their fight. It's tough. We're going through that tough part of our season and that grind, and I just can really appreciate how they fought, stuck through it, and came out with a win.
The Knights are headed to Houston, where they will open a 3-game series with the Cougars this Friday at 6 p.m. With your UCF softball minute, I'm DeVita Lane for the Sons of UCF.
See, now the audio behind her, all quiet, serene there at the Plex. Mere moments earlier, leaf blowing.
Leaf blowers. I don't understand the leaf blowers. Can we get somebody on the show who runs the leaf blowing department? I have many questions I need to have answered.
Again, it's not leaves. They're cleaning up the stands. So pick up your garbage. You don't have to do as much of that.
It's not that many stands. It's not that big a place. I don't understand.
It goes on for a while. A midweek loss at Stetson for baseball. 8-4 losers. They're 15-8 overall. 5-1 in the Big 12, though. They got the 2 out of 3 at TCU. Andrew Gregg reports in our Baseball Minute.
UCF's had a swing of ups and downs throughout the course of the early regular season, but through 2 weekends of conference play, this night's team has looked good. UCF's opening series of the season was against the Siena Saints, who they run-ruled in each of their 3 games. They moved on to stiffer competition quickly, moving on to Miami, and then 3 matchups against Power 4 conference schools, where they went 1-3 in those games. They then went up against in-state rival USF, where they lost the series but had a walk-off win in Sunday's matchup, which lit a fire under this team. They then faced Murray State, a team that went to Omaha last year. They not only swept the series, they had another walk-off in Sunday's victory and carried that momentum into Oklahoma State, getting their first ever Big 12 series sweep. This past weekend, the Knights traveled to Fort Worth, where they took on formerly ranked number 14 TCU and won another series in Big 12 conference play. They've now gotten off to a 5-1 start through 6 games of conference play. The Knights have had a balanced attack of hitting and pitching throughout the course of the season. While on the mound, Matt Saucer has been their best pitcher, the .64 ERA, good for 3rd in the nation. As a team, they currently have a 4.42 ERA, and at the plate, they've had 163 runs throughout the course of 23 games, good for 7 a game. The Knights welcome in an Arizona Wildcats team this weekend who's only 9-14, but they are a year removed from being in Omaha. For the Sons of UCF, I'm Andrew Gregg. That's been your Baseball Minute.
Thank you, Andrew. Can we evaluate the wall decor or lack thereof in Andrew Gregg's?
I want to evaluate the fact that it appears to me as though his television is being held up by a box of Lucky Charms. I'm going to play this really, really quickly again. Just watch the TV behind you and tell me that's not a box of Lucky Charms.
UCF's had a swing of ups and downs throughout the course of the early regular season.
That's not a box.
It could be just positioned on the side.
Well, why who puts their cereal down like that? Cereal goes, we're going vertical cereal box. We're not going cereal box down. Is that box of Lucky Charms propping up the television? These are the thing. I need leaf blower conversations and I need to understand Lucky Charms. So let's regroup on that after the show.
Arizona Friday at 6, Saturday at 6, Sunday at 1. Then the Knights go to Penn State next week, midweek, before traveling over to West Virginia. You'll find more baseball content, including Round the Bases with Nick Williams, Michael Thiede. Happy birthday, Michael, by the way. A big birthday this week to him. Also around the kingdom, update on the rankings. This is a top 25 athletics department. Men's tennis 12th, women's tennis 21st, women's golf 12th, rowing 14th. So 4 programs this spring in the top 25. It is mailbag time.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
It means a lot. Sons of UCF, man, listen, they gave me a great campaign. Sons of UCF, baby.
Hi, fellas.
Got a lot of high fellas next week and his first media availability of spring camp. We open the mailbag with UC Fleet on Blue Sky. I know it's early and we talked about it a little bit with Ben, but which players, if any, are likely to stay with men's basketball for next season? You know, we're talking about what UCF's priorities would be. We don't know what the players are going to do. Portal opens soon. What would hurt you? Who would hurt you if they left? I think John Bowles in that list. I would like to see him continue to develop. I'd hate to lose him just, for the future.
Yeah, I think John Bull is probably the right answer, Trace, just because size is not something that's really easily come by in college basketball. So to get a 7'2" kid that young with that much upside, I think that would be a tough one to lose.
I never say this name right, and I can't remember how to say it right. Satis Rockers? That's not it, though. It's something else, right?
Yeah.
Roche?
Yeah. Satis Rockers is correct, though.
That's not right? That's not right.
You want to throw a Roche in there. I do feel like there may be a
Yeah. Does having to constantly rehire quarterback coaches mean Frost has an uncanny ability to find the particular needle in the haystack? A little overlap, it appears, from his Missouri days with Alex Grinch when they may have overlapped there. And 2004, 5, 6, somewhere in that range. Maybe that's the connection. Maybe we'll get that this week.
I think it's more likely a Grinch connection than a Frost connection, which I actually think is a good thing that Frost is trusting his coordinators to go find the talent, because Will Johnson previously, if you forgot him, he was here for a couple of minutes, also an Alex Grinch sort of disciple, if you will. So I think it's good. It's a good sign he's trusting his coordinators to go find the guys that fit the scheme and coach the way that they want to coach.
All right, you're Scott Frost again. Ready? Here we go. I'm me. You're Frost.
Hello.
Coach, what was the impact of Will Johnson on your program?
Hi, fellas. That's all I got for you on Coach Frost. Yeah,
Mary Ash. Yes. No, nothing much.
No, it's a tough one. I got next question.
At Mary Ashpaw 6 says, saying we still need an offensive analyst because Jordan Johnson, the former Knight, leaving for an O-line coach position. It's somewhere in West Virginia.
Virginia, the position coach of O-line, for those who aren't aware, he was an analyst level at UCF. So this is a title promotion for Jordan Johnson, running his own room essentially at a Division II school in West Virginia. So I assume at some point, they don't typically announce analyst hires with any sort of pomp and circumstance. I assume at some point we'll just have a graphic that just shows up one day on the roster and we have a new analyst.
But that's the position that they need now.
Opens the door for another former UCF, player perhaps to move into the coaching ranks.
At Scott Liner, do you think baseball is making the tournament this year? 5-1. I got to tell you, taking 2 out of 3 at TCU is pretty important. Arizona's tough. They won 9 games last year. I think the magic number is 15 based on their strength of schedule. They're a third of the way there. Yeah. I'm gonna go yes at this point. You don't know what injuries are going to take place, but bats have been popping. Got some decent starting pitching. Still some questions in the bullpen at times, but yeah, I'm going to go yeah. Check back. Ask again.
I'll stay positive. I thought we fired Coach Wallace after he lost LSU, but I guess he's still here.
Well, some did. Some did.
I'll stay positive. Why not? I mean, at 5-1 start, I think maybe this team just is rising. I don't love what happened midweek at Stetson, but let's just chalk it up to midweek, madness and move on. And but let's see what this weekend holds as they bring the Wildcats down.
Robert, 2 letters, 2 words. On paper, who has the lead heading into spring, offense or defense? They always say, right, defense is ahead of the offense. There's question marks on both sides. I'm going to say defense because of the returners and Barnett needing to learn his team.
So, yeah, lead in what regard? I think in terms of just continuity, I think the defense, many of the main players, all the secondary, Lewis Carter, Horace Lockett, RJ Jackson, they all know the system. So perhaps they are. Where on the offensive side, if you do 11 starters from last year, how many of them are holding over? Wade Charles, Dwayne Thomas, maybe an offensive lineman, Dylan Wade. You don't have a ton. So I think there's a lot more pieces to put together offensively. So I'm going to assume if you're talking about just who looks sharper on day one of practice, I'm going to assume it's going to be the defense based on that.
UCF Guy 1203 on Blue Sky asking about the proper balance on UCF sports. And as a fan, he wants to see football do well, basketball, but also rowing, golf, even club teams like ice hockey. And he's asking a pretty provocative question, which I feel like I know what a lot of UCF fans would answer. What's that right balance? How much are you willing to spend to allow the other teams to compete, especially if it means taking away from football in particular? I don't think most sports fans, right, at college programs want to see money taken away from football. I think there are some places where a Duke, a Kansas would say, take it from football, give it to basketball. But I can't imagine if you could just earmark your dollars, your donation, how would you divvy it up? I just don't think that programs like golf or tennis would get much from fans if they were earmarking their donations.
I think in the 85th to 90th percentile, people would not want to give anything away from football.
He asked, do you think most fans would be willing to completely give up other sports just for football to be slightly more successful? I think the answer is yes. I just don't think there are enough fans like you.
1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%. I think there are fans talking about even basketball, right? Like we have this conversation about resources and everyone freaks out and says, well, just win a game, Johnny, right? But there are people who are like, well, stop funding this program, stop funding that program. I think there are people that absolutely, give up funding anything under the sun and forget Title IX exists and all the other legal legislations and want to put all that money toward. I actually think if you told people I could guarantee you a Final Four appearance next year for UCF basketball, but UCF football will be 3-9, like Jahan Che-Raja says, I don't think people would say yes to that. I think people would go, absolutely not. I will not trade a Final Four in basketball for a 3-9 football season.
Wow. Think about that, though. I mean, a Final Four in basketball. I mean,
put it on the poll, whoever's listening. I'm curious how many people would give up, would put 3-9 on the docket for football guaranteed if you were going to the Final Four.
We talk about resources. I have vowed on this week's Around the Kingdom to minimize, eliminate that talk. But what I think this question points to is that you just need more of UCF Guy 1203. You just need more and more and more of them. And that helps resolve some of your other issues. There just isn't enough deep bench in the fan base that helps support everything else. All right. Thanks, everybody, for your question. Who's up for What's in the Box? My question of you?
I think it's you this week. I think it's you.
What did you ask me last week?
I asked you if honesty was always the best policy.
Oh, yeah. Well, that took a dark turn this week.
Yeah, it did take a dark turn. What isn't dark, though, by the way, is Werner Hoffman. 70 years of legal experience. You have personal injury problems. You got workman's comp, veteran disability, SSI, SSDI cases. I don't know what that means. Luckily, they do. WernerHoffman.com or 1-800-320-HELP. By the way, speaking of MLB, if you're at the Marlins ballpark, you will see a lot of Werner Hoffman Greg signage. They are now the official law firm of your Miami Marlins.
If I'm not mistaken, when I went and saw the Cubs and the Marlins last year, they had their signage in the restrooms above the urinals.
They're now on the outfield wall, I believe. I think they have some seats with their names on the back that we haven't had access to get tickets to, but if they want to get them to me, they know how to find me. But again, WernerHoffman.com, 1-800-320.
You're going down to Miami to watch a game?
Unlikely. No.
Okay.
Well, it depends. What do these seats get me? I'm all about the experience at this point. So if you're telling me I get something, something interesting, I may be interested.
Would you rather visit the past or travel into the future? And here's where you break down the question. You go, well, what am I wearing? What kind of shoes do I have on? How am I traveling? Is it by train? Like Andrew Cherico.
I love
Andrew Cherico. 20 hours, buddy. Made his way
I do have a caveat. I just want to understand, because I just need this one thing answered. Am I going back to the past and then I'm flinging right back to where I'm at in current present day?
This question has 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 words. This is what this question has. Would you rather visit the past or travel into the future?
If I can go back in the past, make some decisions that would then help me in my present state, I would absolutely do that. Listen, I'm scared of tomorrow. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know if airports are going to be open. I have no idea if TSA pre-check's going to work. I'm scared of tomorrow. I'd rather go in the past, but I'd rather at least be able to maybe make some different decisions, maybe invest in, Apple or something, right? Maybe find NVIDIA. Hey, I want to be an early adopter and figure something out that helps me in the present state.
See, what's hard about this question is you might say to travel back and see a loved one that has passed or something. The answer would be a no-brainer. So, but if it was like Back to the Future, where it's just 30 years, you're going back 30 years. So what is that? 1996, or you're going to go 30 years into the future. Just going to land on a random day, 30 years in the past, 30 years in the future. That's where you are. So it's not.
Wow, 1996 was 30 years ago. Oh my gosh. That is not what I thought you were going to say.
When's the last time you bought alcohol in public? Have you seen the sign? I was at the Orlando City game, and it's like checking IDs, and the year was 2005.
I got ID'd at Publix like a month ago, and I almost hugged.
Good for you.
I was
at
really
Publix.
I almost jumped the counter and gave the old lady a hug. I'm not sure she could see, by the way.
So those terrible drinks you drink, those
yes, little happy dad. But senility, what may have said, I don't know, but I almost hugged this poor lady because it had been a hot minute since your boy had gotten ID'd, and I thought it'd be awkward if I hugged her, so I didn't.
All right, so let's be that the caveat. You just go back to March 26, 1996, or March. We want to really feel difficult. March 26, 2056.
Yeah, I'll go back. Let me go back. Let me relive.
I'm going forward.
Let me go nostalgia. I'm scared of March 27th, 2026. So let me go backwards and enjoy some simpler days.
I'll see you coming up on Monday, right?
You will see me on Monday.
Fear of the future.
that's March 30th. I have that. Well, before that though, Orlando Storm tickets. Don't forget, if you want in, if that's you, send us a message. Let us know that you can make it to the game. You want to go. Again, I don't know how long this team, this league, everything will be around, but you have a chance.
Easy now. They're going to be around.
Part of it right now, and so get it on the ground floor. Go be the first persons to see a Orlando Storm game.
I have it on good authority that you might find Sam and Cole at Burger U on Saturday before baseball, and that they may be throwing out the first pitch.
Wow!
So
big breaking news.
Looking into the future.
I don't have a breaking news sounder, or I would do that. Are you a spring football? I think Elo makes fun of you because you actually enjoy spring football, right?
Yeah, I do.
Are you going to this game?
Yeah.
You're going to be at this game on Sunday night.
I am. Credentialed media.
Oh, well, so you're not okay. All right, one of those guys. Okay.
Well, or I got tickets for free. Either way, I'm going. If you don't message us, this dates back 30 plus years to when I worked for the then Orlando Thunder.
Correct.
So so I've always had an affection for spring football.
Do you envision going to every game that you can?
There's only 5 home games, so 20% of the way there if I get there on Sunday. I'm not sure. They're on my calendar. I don't know if there's conflicts with things. It works out pretty good Sunday because it's 8, baseball's at 1, so I can go between the two.
All right. Well, definitely get those tickets now from us because you might meet TV Strays Trelko out at Inter and Co Stadium.
I think Ben, I don't know. And I sit in it and I have season tickets to it and I don't know what they do.
Okay.
I knew what the Exploria people did. They were some sort of resort because I'd enter a contest to win something and never won anything and just got bombarded by their emails after that. But I don't know what Inter and Co does. Isn't that a fun fact that you look up on around? See, we need a fact checker. Where's Miguel this week?
Under the weather.
Miguel's.
Listen, spring break really vexed the interns.
It did seem to throw the Army off all week. I saw sunburned Army members at football availability.
Working their way back into game reps. So give them some time.
But I'll see you on Monday for internship pursuit as we pursue the next crop of sons.
You will see me there. Yes.
Yeah. Any giveaways? Any swag?
To the interns?
Yeah, prospective interns.
I don't think we're allowed to do that. I think that's against the rules.
We can't bribe?
I don't think so.
You know what my question's going to be on Monday? Now what? Let's see how they answer.
Okay. Fair enough.
Remember Dwayne when he talked about the Bucks? And I went, well, what happened to them on Monday night? He was like, but he answered it well. He fired right back. We knew we had a keeper there.
We've had quite the question and answer session during these intern pursuit opportunities.
This is true.
And yeah, people still want to work with us, which is really odd.
We've got pretty good word of mouth. All right. Thanks, everybody. Send us a message if you want to go to the Storm. I'd be happy to say hi to you if you are, in fact, going for Adam Eaton. I'm Trace Trelko. Go Knights.
Charge on.
When I'm not getting cold ready for the NFL draft, we're watching something UCF live. Go Knights. Charge on.
Oh, I got to show him that.
A much younger
Saturday.
Cole Schneider with much less hair than he has.
Much less hair.
Much less hair.
Wow. Yeah. He's got some personality. He changes his hairstyle frequently. Well, I got to cue that up for him when I see him.
I can send you a copy if you'd like to. Are you going to see him? Is he going to is that post game? Like, hey, Cole.
Saturday. Well, that's part of what I'm going on.
Great game today. Hit the button and this is him with Monster the Barber.
No, probably Saturday at Burger U.
Okay.
Or at the baseball game. Probably be a little easier. So, all right.
Goodbye.
See ya.